You are listening to the Star Trek Wars podcast. Today we'll be reviewing the 12th episode, the penultimate episode of Star Trek Discovery's 4th season. My name is Jordan, and I'll be your co-host. Joining me as always is my co-host, Joselyn. Joselyn, are you all right?
Why do you ask?
Thank you for telling me how you feel. Well, that almost worked. Shall we scream together?
I would love that,
Okay.
yes.
I think the fans would hate it, so...
They probably would. My scream is ear-shattering.
Yeah, we'll do it
I
and
do
then
want to
edit
just
it
say, now that I've given it a moment, I would say I'm 15% excited, 20% elated, 2.4% curious, and 25% scared to be here. Thank you.
I think you missed some percentages, but don't worry. We'll do some math later. In this episode, this week, we meet the 10C, an episode called Species 10C. I mean, I think that was like
Right?
the working title, and they forgot to change
What a
it.
twist!
But Season 4, Episode 12, it is written by Terry Hughes Burton, directed by Jeffrey W. Bird. As the DMA approaches Earth and Navarre, Captain Burnham and the crew of the USS Discovery attempt to make first contact with the powerful species responsible before it's too late. So, Jocelyn, what are your first impressions for this week's episode as we kind of get to the end of this season's arc?
Well, I told you this before, but I feel like this was a good week for Trek. I feel like the things that we've been asking for, show us the 10C, like we finally got to the break with Book and Tarka, which we've been just been waiting for him to realize what an idiot he's being. A lot of that happened this week. We got like a good proper amount of time with Jet Reno. Yeah, first impression, very, very good.
I thought it was good. It's interesting with Discovery. Even when they have a good episode for me at this point in the arc, it's like, why couldn't you have done some of this sooner? Because I was so glad that they kind of finally had that breaking point with Book and Tarka. I was like, could they please have made this arc, 2 episodes with those two instead of 4.5?
Yeah.
I would have appreciated that more. I'm glad it's here, but it happens really towards the end of the episode and has not been fully resolved yet, but that's what finales are for. So I liked it. It is a very, alien species that they're working with.
Definitely, yeah.
So that was unique. And I think it was James King kind of compared it to Arrival, which I've not seen, but I've seen the ads, and I feel like I kind of know how it goes.
I saw a lot of comments like that.
Yeah.
Like, as I was, as I do, going into the basement. And I have seen Arrival.
Okay.
And I would say there's some things about it, but there are a lot of movies centering around an alien race communicating with things other than spoken language.
This is true.
But this was very unique. I have never seen where there's math and colors and like things like that. And that wasn't really the thing with Arrival. So I see the connection. It's definitely reminiscent, but also very different.
Interesting. Yeah, so I liked it. It's definitely a little slower, but that's okay. I like that Discovery kind of takes its time a little bit, but let's get into it. What did you like about this week's episode in particular?
Well, I have been remiss in episodes of late for not mentioning the fashion. So we will start with the fashion, and I will say best dressed Trekker of the week definitely goes to Tarina. That like faux leather, textured, full length with the very proud shoulder padding, which is, I get it. It's like very Vulcan, very, what is the other, why can't I think of the other inhabitants of Navarre? Romulan, thank you. Mm-hmm. It's actually mostly Romulan, but I loved it. It was amazing. And that's it for the top fashion of the week.
Do they mention what happens to the Remans on Navarre? Like, are they still just a slave race that lives on the dark side of the planet, or?
God, I hope not. Okay. Those poor things, I haven't given them a thought.
Neither has the Vulcans or the Romulans.
Oh, God. The dark side of Navarre, right? A lot of my comments in the pros and in the cons are going to circle around Jet Reno because we haven't gotten her all season, and now we got her, And I'm glad she's here. So
Mhm.
pro Jet Reno, obviously. Reno, it turns out, is the MacGyver of Discovery.
I think she always has been.
She always has been?
Yeah.
We've seen her, like, fix a comm badge with licorice before?
Not quite to that extent, but she's talked about, duct tape and, bubble gum, or you can fix stuff with duct tape or,
That's true. Okay, she has before. Well, she's at
seeing it
her
in
most
action was fun.
MacGyver-y. And I didn't see it coming because black licorice is kind of a very, like, Trek joke now. Like from Lower Decks,
Mhm.
how that replicator, the evil computer, and that replicator would only spit out black licorice and they were starving.
Even the water tastes like black licorice.
Exactly. So I thought that was pretty good. And it was a joke in itself. And then it kind of like took your attention away from the fact that maybe she's after this for a specific reason.
Mhm.
Which I still wouldn't have understood because I don't get how that works with electricity.
No one is ordering black licorice
to
eat it. So
I would hope not. Cleveland Booker is apparently the Dread Pirate Roberts of Discovery.
I had the same
I didn't see that coming. Of course, you have the same note. We've probably seen that movie equal amounts of time.
Yeah, I watched it with my kids at least twice in the last 6 months or so. So
nice, very nice. Yeah, I guess that's fine, and also a detail we didn't need. But I guess they threw it in there for him to kind of bond with Reno or make it seem like he was sharing something with her. I don't know. I don't hate it.
He's teased the story about 15 times. So, I mean, I guess they had to do it.
Okay, they led up to it, I guess. Yeah, that's true. It's in my pros because I see you, Discovery. I see you doing your thing, and any throwback to Princess Bride, I'm on board for. Saru and Tarina have their first little like lovers spat, and it's cute because it just was kind of like this little cultural context misunderstanding, and then Saru is able to like kind of do that thing when they're meeting the 10C where he says one thing but he looks at her and it also means another thing. Like I recognize that like what you said earlier in the meeting was actually because you have feelings for me. Anyway.
It's Saru's as you wish moment.
Yes, thank you. That's exactly what it was. Speaking of the 10C are the Sauron of Discovery, I guess?
Kind of.
In a way. They kind of presented that way.
Can't wait to see him digging up some orcs next week.
Yeah, exactly. You know they've got him. Like the dark side of Navarre.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Freeman.
Up until the moment, I guess, where they send a shuttle, which is basically the big bean from downtown Chicago.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, that's
very touristy.
Yeah, I know. It's like, what's next? A Ferris wheel? Okay. I loved learning some things this week about science that I didn't know.
Okay.
The Kardashev scale.
Mm-hmm.
The Linkos language. I did not know either of those things existed. And now, thanks to Wikipedia, I have a very tenuous grasp on what that actually means. But it's cool. It's cool stuff.
It is, yeah. So the Kardashev scale is basically like a measurement of how much energy a race or species can harness. And that kind of rates you on the scale of how advanced you are. So that's pretty cool. It's necessary when you go out into space. And then Lidco's language, what do you know about that? Because I know very little about that.
Well, yeah, I guess I would just say, just off the top of my head, that Linkos, which is an abbreviation of the Latin phrase lingua cosmica, is, I don't know, a constructed language first described in the 1960s by Dr. Hans Freudenthal in his book Linkos, Design of a Language for Cosmic Intercourse, Part 1. And I guess I would just say it's a language designed to be understandable by any possible intelligible extraterrestrial life form for the use in interstellar radio transmissions. Just basically, very basically.
Is it just using basic math, basically, to communicate?
I I don't know because I don't understand it.
Okay.
And I didn't copy that much of the Wikipedia.
You sounded like you were pulling a lot from just memory. So
yeah. The Kardashev scale is interesting though, because I don't know. It's very cool in that it was like made up in the 1960s as well, and yet it still holds true today. And it's just kind of cool.
I feel like most things were made up in the 1960s.
Not all of them hold up, though.
No, that's true.
Yeah, it's just, I like, science fiction. I really love the fiction, but I'm also kind of into the science sometimes. So, and then my last pro, the 10C reveal. They had been building up to it so much that I was so worried we were just going to get this like flying dragon, which isn't what we didn't get, but I thought like the colors and the light patterns and then the different like chemical it's very complex and mathy, and like I know they took their time explaining it, but I've still like kind of rewound a couple times and was like, wait, now what? But it was cool because for one of the first times in Discovery, they weren't like talking down to us. They were just conveying the information, and I did appreciate that. Neutral zone wise, I just have one thing. That scene where Book is confronting Tarka on his ship right before Tarka throws him in the cargo bay / brig.
Yeah.
I feel like in editing, they must have just chopped the first half of that scene. Like and like, I know that happens and that, you do that for time or you do that. Like we can probably imagine how that started, but it was just a little weird for me. I don't know. I didn't really
like started in the middle.
It was it was abrupt considering how long of a relationship they've had now. And how many times Tarka has really pushed it with Book and he has stuck it out with him. I don't know. But to be fair, we haven't ever had another person with them who could be like, yeah, he's crazy and lying to you. So I knew that was the time it was going to happen, but that scene just felt like chopped. Like it had more context to it that we didn't get.
Yeah.
So. But that's it. Those are my pros. That's my neutral zone. What have you got?
Well, did you like the 10C's name, the character that we met this week?
I don't remember.
It was Puff.
Oh my God.
The magic dragon. I think it'd be hilarious if next
the one who lives by the sea?
Yeah, exactly. Because they are like using almost like water like effects, like when they build it looks like water in space. But
it did actually. That was cool. I thought when it like came out, and it reminded me of something, and I can't remember what.
Maybe Stargate.
Yes, thank you. It's absolutely Stargate.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's definitely a visual.
That's a con for Jeremy, I'm sure. Not a Stargate guy.
Oh,
they used in the ad for Stargate move over Star Trek, and Jeremy was out. He's like has not watched it out of spite ever since. So he took that personally. I think it'd be hilarious if next week they would never do this in a million years, but if next week in the finale, like we see things from the perspective of like Tarina or the characters that did not go down to the planet, and the 10C are just like normal people, but because Burnham's so high on whatever baby bone dust she snorted last week, like she's seeing this light magic show. So that would be.
She's still high as a kite.
Yeah, she is
from the MDMA. She sniffed off the back of baby dinosaur bones.
Yes. So yeah.
Oh my God.
That would be actually kind of funny. I don't know if they could quite pull that off, but
maybe that's a short trek we could
I'd be down with that,
get to happen.
I love the line by Reno. She's just like her deadpan delivery. It's like, I never knew being kidnapped could be so boring. Just like so funny. I mean, you talked about, I think everyone will talk about this in their pros, is Reno using the black licorice like and using it to MacGyver her comm badge is hilarious. And so Reno, Dr. Snacks has a whole plate of snacks in one of the briefing scenes. He has like this whole plate next to him. He's eating. Just
That's right, he does.
This guy is my spirit animal. I just love the fact that if I had a replicator, I would never not have snacks with me. Like, come on.
I know. Yeah.
I also like that, in keeping with classic Star Trek, we have a legitimate conference room scene where they're in a room discussing things. And it's, they're on the clock, but they're not stopping to talk about their feelings. Like, they're talking about the matter at hand and, like, actual important things that if they don't talk about and figure out, the planet's Earth's gonna be blown up, and Titan and probably them. So, like, I like getting different perspectives from different people about how to deal with it, and then working together to find a solution.
They're always standing meetings. Have you noticed that? No one ever sits down in this show.
It's been since season 2 where they actually had a proper seating room. When Pike was the captain, they'd go into the room, like him and Linus and whoever would sit down, and they actually had like a table kind of like TNG, but yeah, it is a lot of standing. I guess it's healthier for you, but
standing.
Man.
I don't know.
Saru needs a break.
Much standing.
He's standing.
Yeah.
His calves have got to be
He's in those
burning.
Lady Gaga heels. He needs to sit.
I feel like Reno's gotten more character development in 2 episodes than 80% of the bridge crew in just the few scenes that she's had. And I don't think
get out of my cons,
Reno needs to have that much character development to understand. Like, she is a character. But
she's a strong character.
Yes, just you kind of know who Reno is without knowing much about her backstory. But I think just having that backstory adds so much more depth and understanding, and to her performance too. Like, she's not just giving deadpan humor lines. She's actually been serious with. We see Adira, where she's talking with Adira. What was it, 2 episodes ago? And then we see this episode where she's telling Book about her wife dying, and the horrible story about like replicating skin grafts and trying to keep this guy alive, and why she was actually doing it was for her, not for him. So that was kind of interesting too. But just that type of depth was really good, and it did not seem forced like what they've been trying to do with some of the bridge crew this season, where they just get into an argument where one takes this point and one takes this point just to have 2 characters argue about something. I wish that instead of the Section 31 show that we're allegedly going to get someday, that they just dropped Star Trek Reno. I think that would be way better. It could even be like a time travel show about Reno in Las Vegas. I don't care. Star Trek Reno.
Reno 911.
Like Michael and Saru, I like their just the relationship overall. They have had their ups and downs. They've known each other for years and years and years. And he's been her captain, she's been his captain, which is an interesting dynamic. And the shouting match, maybe not my favorite scene, but I kind of understand. A little corny, but I just like their interaction together and them speaking, kind of one-on-one. And him kind of knowing what Michael needs and vice versa. So they've kind of always been there for each other. I also like just finding common ground and a way to communicate with another species. We don't see a lot of examples of the Universal Translator not working. There are definitely a few, like Darmok, and there's one on Enterprise, which is essentially the enemy or enemy mine. Just redone, where Trip is having to communicate with this alien, but he can't understand him, which that actually makes a lot of sense. But that's not always, it's kind of the same. If you've seen it once, you've seen it 100 times. So this is kind of a different take on that. And you don't have just one physical being there. You have kind of this light show, and you have a lot of characters trying to figure it out, like a whole team of scientists being scientists. So I did appreciate that. And then, like I said, having non-human aliens is huge too. No pun intended. Yes. And using math to communicate, kind of like a universal language, because math is the same regardless, at least on our planet, of whatever your culture is. Like, we still do math the same way. So
it's cool.
Neutral zone wise, some of these might be neutral zones, some might be pros, some might be cons. I didn't have time to really organize my notes this week as much as I'd like to, but I guess, started as a con, but I said Reno can eat whatever she wants, but she asked for black licorice. That's probably the second to last food I would ever replicate if I had Replicator. Like
second to last.
Yeah, pickles dead last. I cannot stand pickles.
What? I mean, pickles are gross
They're
objectively,
disgusting.
but between pickles or black licorice, and I have to eat
Pickles are
pickle.
like slimy too. Like red licorice, fine. Same consistency as black licorice, just black licorice tastes like tar and feces. I don't know. But pickles are disgusting. And it like seeps into the bread and infects everything. Like if you get a sandwich with a hamburger with pickles and they leave the pickles on, you take the pickles off, you're still tasting pickle. You got to throw the whole sandwich away and make a new one. If you get a sandwich with a stick of black licorice, you could probably take that bad boy off and it's not going to like contaminate the food around it. It's still disgusting, but those are probably bottom two.
Okay, I see.
That alien thing looks like the Stargate portal made out of, where the water whooshes out, which we kind of discussed.
Yep, absolutely.
So I guess you could call it Watergate. Okay, never mind. Book asking how...
We're not old.
I didn't finish that note. I think Culver is staying behind, I said. I don't know. Oh, yeah, I think Culver, like, this could be one of those classic Trek tropes where, like, they leave the character behind with the species. Because he's talking about, like, how zen the experience was. And
you know what I think they're setting up? He's going to get addicted to 10C baby bone.
It's going to be
drugs.
like T'Pol Trillium D thing from Star Trek Enterprise.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about, but sounds like it.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I think he's going to have a dark fifth season, I'll tell you that.
He could, or he could just stay with the 10C where he's just happy all the time. I don't know. That's just a very Star Trek thing. That's a very Discovery thing at this point where like every crew member just finds a reason to leave the ship.
If he gets more than 5 minutes next episode, we'll know it's true.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I think that this is neutral zone because Book is the Dread Pirate Roberts, essentially. It's like they passed the name along. Mm-hmm. He knew he was like the fifth. Like the Dread Pirate Roberts has such a long tradition. He didn't even know who was, how long it had been going on, basically. So that had a little more mystery to it, kind of. The fact that they explain it is a pro. The fact that it's just like the Dread Pirate Roberts is kind of a con. It's neutral zone. It's okay. They did it. Whatever.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm glad that they give Nilsson some input this week. But maybe if we'd seen her play an instrument prior to this episode, which I don't think that we have, it would make more sense that she'd come to this conclusion. Like if Data is saying, oh, it's like the cello or the violin, or Riker's like, oh, it's like the trombone. Like they play those instruments. We know they have a musical background. Or even Harry Kim. Like Nilsson, we've never seen her do anything other than stand at a console. Or maybe walk towards a chair and sit in it. So her coming up with this, and like each minor character like adds a piece to the puzzle, and like she picked the perfect 3 bridge crew members to solve this mystery that they're stuck on. It just seems a little too like where's the dumb Starfleet officer that's like, I want to piggyback off of what he said, and think that's a very good idea. Yes, I think we need to continue that route of inquiry.
Yes.
I'm going to go replicate some food. Like, I want that character, please.
The Barclay of Discovery.
Kind of. Like, Barley's brilliant, but he's just like, socially awkward.
Socially inept, yeah.
I want someone who's socially awkward, or maybe not even socially awkward, but just not very smart. Like, they're good at their job, they can follow orders, but like, they're not going to figure out how to communicate with an alien species that uses lights and math. So,
yeah.
Basically, I want me on the show, a representation of me, the normal guy.
The normal guy.
The average Joe. Yeah. It's a good thing that Zora felt like helping this week. Because, man, if she was in a bad mood this week, they're all dead. They're all dead.
Yeah, we would have been dead.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's a big problem. It's like, certainly, I would love to help.
More of that.
After I finish playing this game, it's like, no, Zora, no.
I've discovered Call of Duty, an Earth game, on what is called a PlayStation 5.
How did you get one? They're still hard to get in
Right?
the 32nd century. She's just playing Wordle. I still don't understand Wordle or how it works, but I see your results on Facebook, everyone, and I'm not impressed.
And we're very proud of you.
Yeah, it's like me trying to understand Wordle. Like, I see green blocks, I see yellow blocks, I see black blocks, I see numbers, I see fractions. I don't know what it means.
I'm gonna explain it to you when we're done here.
Okay. Oh, when we're done. Okay, I thought you said I'm going to explain it to you, and then we're done here. Got it.
No, when we're done. Nobody needs to hear that.
Perfect. No, I would cut it out of the episode. I'm glad people are enjoying it.
Not great.
Just like all good things, the New York Times bought it or something, and now they'll kill it. And then you got to pay for it.
Yeah, they have. It's so hard now, and it didn't used to be. So, yeah.
See, they're making it for smart people, and I can't get behind that.
I know. And it's just like, hey, the rest of us are still here. So, yeah, we exist, okay?
My last neutral zone is that Reese takes the con this week, and like, does he outrank Nilsson now? What is happening?
No, that was weird. She just jumped rank there.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's happening.
I thought that was strange.
I don't think that the riders even know who's who. They're just like, you take the captain's seat. Like, you're on the bridge.
Has Reese ever sat in the captain's seat? No? Okay. Put him there.
Give him a seat.
Yeah.
If you're going to do that, don't have Nilsson on the bridge right there being like awkwardly staring at the seat. Like, that's where I sit.
Yeah, take her with you. She's going to be in the next scene anyway, talking about music.
Con-wise, Jocelyn, let's jump into our cons and find out what you may not have liked about this week's episode.
Yeah, let's do it. Zora, like, I get it. Tarka built a little, like, mouse, an old-timey wireless mouse, and then, like, attached it to some nacelle. I don't know. But I just feel like Zora maybe probably physically saw maybe what happened when Reno was taken by Tarka. Like,
she should probably know.
I just don't get it. I actually think there was a little bit of jump in logic. Like, I get now why Reno was taken hostage, because we needed Reno to be the hostage, because Reno had to be the one to see the formula, and she would be really one of the only ones who would understand it and be able to tell Book, like, Tarka's going to double cross you, basically. Mm-hmm. So I understand, like, why they had to make that happen and why we had to make it seem like Zora wouldn't notice, but it just seems very convenient. It's storytelling convenience. And that can work for you here and there, but it was just a little glaring. I don't know. I wasn't buying it.
I agree, but at the same time, Star Trek has this long history of the computer kind of being an idiot. The difference is Zora has a personality.
That's true.
And I guess she's supposed to be a little smarter, but the ship really doesn't know where anyone is because they track everything by comm badge. So as long as your comm badge is on, like, hey, you're fine, right?
That's true. That's true.
But we've also seen...
why would her biometrics still be working?
Everything's linked to, like, your comm badge. I don't know. There are other ways around that. Like, they should have figured it out a lot sooner. Like, if Reno's just gone and the world's going to end in 15 hours, like, you should probably know she's...
Right.
Something's gone wrong.
Where she is.
So,
or she's not important, which to that point, we haven't seen her for like 10 episodes. So
that's true. So why would anyone be surprised she's not there? She's been missing. She's been MIA for 6 months.
Yeah, and no one was concerned. So I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know. But we've also seen scenes where they show cameras and watching cameras and footage of what happened. So if her comm badge is in engineering, roll back the tape in engineering. So yeah, I get that.
Exactly.
That's just been a long trope. And
yeah, and again, it's fine, but if we're going to get that trope, like, why can't we get all the other fun tropes?
Mm-hmm.
You know? Like, I want those too. Anyway, I do not understand how Reno sent that message, that audio message, without Tarka hearing.
Yeah.
Especially since we know now that you can do a text message over comms.
Mm-hmm.
Which we didn't see until conveniently Tarka had Book in the brig and had to communicate with Ndoye.
Mm-hmm.
And he did this through text, which they'd never communicated that way before. They were always talking to each other.
It's been a couple times, but yes, in this instance, they have never done that. That's true.
Right. And it didn't strike her as weird because we're making a major decision here. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, she's not.
I don't know.
The brightest so far in this show. They have really kind of undermined what little character they've built up in her. She's just a convenience to the plot at this point. Like,
she is a little bit.
We need a turncoat.
But I also think so I think the thing with her is she's a general.
Mm-hmm. She's military based.
Like she's
trying to protect her.
Exactly. So I think it's actually very consistent with her character. She is a military person. Yeah. And this is probably more comfortable territory for her, than maybe some of this more articulate diplomacy. I also thought, and I forgot this in my prose, but she had like one of the best moments where they were like, hey, we're going to hop in this bean and go, we don't know where, and maybe die. You want to come? And she was like, no, I trust that you'll
make the right call.
Do a good job. Yeah, I'm good.
In my stead.
Thank you. Right. I thought that was so funny. I was like, clever. Oh, that's me too. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. I really did like this episode. I'm really stuck on the Reno thing. I don't understand why we didn't get her all season and then suddenly she's here. I don't know. I mean, it could have been, I know they were filming during a pandemic. There was probably scheduling conflicts. I get that. This was not the only thing Tig Notaro was doing at the time that this was filming. She was doing a movie for Netflix. She's also got like her own stand-up that she does. So I get it, but I don't know. Reno as the chief of engineering for Star Trek Discovery is like such a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
And could be like a highlight of this series. So I hope they really lean into that in season 5 and really just recognize what they have.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I think that's one of
pretty much
your cons.
Yeah, those are pretty much my cons.
That's one of the biggest cons for me with Discovery is just like the amount of talent and characters that they have to work with. And how little some of those characters get. Like Tilly for a while was developing and was a good character. Saru has been a consistently good character. Michael has had her moments.
Yes.
Culber, Stamets, like they've all had moments, but it's just like they're fixated on Michael so much that the side characters get completely lost. And even like strong characters like Tarina, like she's finally come to the forefront a little bit this year. But most of what she's done is just have awkward interactions with Saru this season. She has added more than that recently, but yeah.
Yeah.
Which I like that story arc, but it's just a very long story arc.
And again, the hyper focus on Michael is also a detriment to Michael.
It is.
Not just everybody else who kind of gets pushed by the wayside.
That's true.
It's sad.
Jocelyn, do you want to hear something new that I hate about Paramount Plus?
I do.
Perfect.
I really do.
So I feel like I start all my cons, but the app, which I have to use on the PlayStation 4 because it's not on the PlayStation 5 and continues to not download on my Fire Stick. It keeps saying it's downloading, but has never finished in the last 9 months. If you hit the circle button on your controller, which is usually the pause button for most, or the back button.
Yeah, that would be the pause button.
It exits you out of the episode entirely back to the menu screen. And then when you click back on the episode, it doesn't remember where you were.
It starts over.
And you start all over. But don't worry, Jocelyn, if you need to get back to where you were, you can just fast forward at a maximum allowed speed of 3 times without any thumbnail images or context of where you are in the fast forward process. I think I could be more accurate with a VHS tape and a rewinder. Like,
I think you could.
Holy cow.
It's such a bad app. It's so bad.
It's horrendous.
It's really bad.
So after like the 3rd time I did that, I finally was just like, I'm not touching anything. I'm not pausing. I'm not turning on subtitles.
Why can't we get like Star Trek on Netflix like every other civilized country?
You can subscribe through Amazon Prime and watch it through that. because CBS All Access is like an add-on. I did that at one point, and that's a better interface. I think one of the fans brought that up as well, but I don't pay for it, so I'm not gonna complain. I got one episode left of this, and then I'm gonna figure out a new situation because I'm gonna throw that.
It's untenable.
It is. First world problems. I am not a fan of the species name 10C. I've said it 1,000 times.
Yeah.
So naming the episode Species 10C is not a great start for me. When I saw it was called Species 10C, I was just like, oh, okay. Well, all right. This season arc, that's more neutral zone, I guess. This season arc could have been 3 to 4 episodes. This arc makes the motion picture feel like a breeze. It is so long and drawn out that even that I'm enjoying the last 3 out of the last 4 episodes quite a bit. The first 7, 8 episodes are almost throwaway to an extent. Like they could have been condensed down into 2 or 3. It's crazy.
Yeah. We could have had a lot more going on. I
think Jeremy will go into detail about that too, and he has some really good points. And he's pretty much predicted everything that has happened for the most part. So we'll definitely, I'll save that for later as well. But that's definitely how I feel about this arc this season. And it's been like that to a lesser extent with previous seasons where they have a couple one-offs which help. But this season there's been maybe 1 or 2 one-offs and they were out of place when they had them. And it just feels really, really stretched out. I am over the emotional computer that needs a pep talk to perform basic functions already. Mainly because I get really techno stressed when my computer does not do what it's supposed to do, because
it's so stressful.
All the computer is supposed to do is perform the function that you're asking it to do. And when it does not do that task, it makes life very hard. And we've had some computer system issues at work recently where things freeze or the back end operations are not functioning properly, so you can't do anything for like an hour and a half. So that is frustrating. So when I watch Star Trek and I'm also looking at a situation where people can't do their job properly because computer doesn't want to comply, and it's 1,000 years from now, it would be like me watching Michael Burnham try to watch something on Paramount Plus in the future, and the app is just still as bad as it is today. So that's the best way I can describe it. I wrote another last-minute save. I don't even know what that's in reference to, but I think where they're going to with this, where they have like 15 hours before the DMA destroys Earth, and so they're gonna save Earth, but it's gonna be at the last minute or second again, which is like every season of Discovery recently, and really a lot of the JJ Trek movies is saving the world or the universe, or at least Earth, which is just getting a little tropey and a little old.
Yeah,
it's also pretty hard to hide the fact that you're escaping when you have a heads-up display projecting from your communication chip that you smuggled onto the ship. Like, Reno is standing there, and you see the projection out of her comm badge into the air, and she's facing towards where Tarka is standing. Like, turn around and hide it.
Like, not even trying to hide
or
it.
go back to a 2D interface and press buttons. Like, I can't.
Well, she sends an audio message.
Yes.
How did you?
An audio message with a screen. It would be like if I pulled out my iPhone on full brightness and was like, hey, Siri. Hey, Siri. Like, okay. Send a message to Discovery. SOS. Tarka's going to kill everyone. Like, is she telling them anything they don't know? Probably not. But that's most of my cons, or annoyances. Not bad this week. It's just a lot of piling on from previous issues with Discovery, but I do really feel that I did not think they'd be able to salvage this season. And I feel like I could watch the back half of the season and be pretty happy with it. Nothing really pertinent happened in the first half, which is unfortunate, but they've definitely pulled out the last few episodes. I've been enjoying it a lot more. I'm looking forward to the finale, and I feel like I say this every season. I'm looking forward to seeing where they go next season, but I just hope they make some better decisions. They've definitely learned from some of the shortcomings and trying to give characters more time, but I hope it's not the Michael Burnham Saves the Universe show in season 5 again. But that...
I hope not.
That's what we thought of this week's episode, Jocelyn. Should we see what the fans at home had to say, or should we go into the basement?
You know what? Let's get The Basement over with because it's really bad this week.
Perfect.
Like super bad. Let's go.
Time to take out the garbage.
Oh.
I hate it already.
So we have a returning. What's that?
I hate it already.
Yeah, you should. When I go into The Basement, the IMDb reviews, and look for the 1 stars, I really do try not to repeat anyone. This is like to not give them undue attention, but also, you know, there's enough garbage people out there to go around. However, back at it again. A sequel from P.J. Dickinson. Emphasis on the dick.
That's the dick in
I'm not going to read his whole review. It's pretty bad. But he titles it, "The Shuttle Bay was quite tidy. Shall we raise shields? No, we don't want to show any signs of aggression. In other news, wearing a coat is an act of war." So he clearly doesn't understand the concept that raising shields historically in Star Trek is. Anyway, Whisper Dive engaged, and we're on the penultimate episode of season 4. And the treacherous general's accent is going places a treacherous general's accent has never gone before. He then talks about some things that are at once sexist, misogynist, and homophobic. So we'll skip that part. I just do want to mention for Mr. Dick and son...
And his son.
That General Ndanye is played by an actress whose name I'm probably going to butcher because of my own ignorance, but it's Fumzile Sitoli, maybe is how you say it.
Sounds like a delicious pasta. After the Sitoli?
She is actually from South Africa. And the accent, the accent that she is... I guess, butchering is the way she talks.
Joss, I gotta stop you right there because your American accent, your English is just.
Is it not?
Yeah, your accent.
Am I doing?
Yeah, you're doing.
Oh, my accent. I'm doing it wrong. Oh my God! Thank you for telling me.
And I'm doing my Texas accent wrong too. So.
Oh my God.
Okay, y'all.
Yeah. Okay, y'all. So. I've been doing it wrong this whole time.
Why is a Southern accent like the easiest thing to mimic?
It is so easy.
It's ridiculous.
It's so easy. Yeah, very easy. I just think, in closing, before we leave, PJ, if she's doing it wrong, you should probably tell her. You know, she probably really wants to hear from you. So definitely go do that. That's probably a good idea. You definitely won't get your ass handed to you. I do also want to mention, I did a little bit of I went down a rabbit hole on her Instagram, which is she's at Phuzap, Phuzap. Her Instagram is beautiful. There's some like really beautiful like shots on there. She also has some like short scenes of her doing other acting that's really good. I don't know. I really like it. I follow her now, so we're basically best friends. So
she'll be on the podcast.
I think she's cool. Yeah, she's got range, and Jonathan Frakes talked about this on the Ready Room when he accidentally called her by the wrong name, by the way. But she was about to quit acting before this role.
Oh, I did
hear
actually
that story. Remember that? Yeah. And she had such a good time that she's here to stay, which I'm really glad because she does some good work. She's also on The Good Fight, and she's on Orange is the New Black with Kate Mulgrew, who, of course, is Captain Janeway from Voyager. So, you know.
Prodigy.
And Prodigy. So, anyway, PJ, if I ever meet you in person. Anyway, let's get out of here.
Let's lock the door.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, Jocelyn. Well, that's what one fan thought of this week's episode. Let's go to our fans and see if they agree with PJ.
I doubt it. Anyway, Barbara Whipple, hey Barbara, she says, we got more excitement going on about contacting the aliens, but we still didn't get to see them. The main trouble in this is the same thing that's been going on the whole season, that they interrupt the action to have drawn-out discussions that don't matter. The most interesting part was when Reno claimed that licorice conducts electricity and got her communicator to work. I kept Googling that, and I didn't find anything at all about licorice and electricity, except that a patient in Korea had been taking herbal medicine with lots of licorice in it and had given herself heart arrhythmia, which they called an electric storm.
Electrical storm.
Barbara, I love that you went on a deep dive into licorice conducting electricity.
She said it was like
now,
the glycerin in the licorice, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Look, there are two things I don't know, and that's how electricity works.
And how licorice works.
Black
works. Licorice in particular.
It's interesting, though, that someone eating too much licorice got a heart arrhythmia.
It's a lot of licorice.
I'm going to figure out how that works because
nature properties of glycerin. And your heart is very electrical.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's not exactly how that works.
Well, you can't eat electricity.
Now I'm wondering if there's a lot of potassium in licorice or calcium or something, because those are the most cardioactive. Basically, it's like supplement. Anyway, now I'm going to Google it, Barbara, but thank you.
That's my favorite Imagine Dragons song, if I had one. Which I do not. John Carlo Cruz says, wasn't as good as the Picard episode, but I did like that the 10C weren't people with makeup. I really hope it gets wrapped up this season. We're cutting it really close. Which we are, and I think they will. I doubt that they do it to be continued to season 5. I would be very surprised, but you never know.
You never know. Wayne Fraser says, I thought this was actually better than the last few episodes, and I found Burnham engaging for the first time in a while, but I was let down by the direction. I'm assuming this was a COVID issue, but I was at my mom's and okay, that's really cute, Wayne. I'm sorry. I was at my mom's and she asked a very simple question from someone who doesn't watch the show religiously. Why are they standing so far apart? Once she asked it, I couldn't unsee it. The episode in a cargo bay, and it just seemed completely unnatural. Surely they could have come up with something a bit more interesting. That being said, once all of us stop wearing masks, I will be standing very far from people because I am not in anywhere prepared to smell people's breath again. I
think COVID, as bad as it's been, it's opened some people's eyes as to how disgusting other humans are, which I already knew. So I was a step ahead.
I knew this
I went to the
for
bathroom
certainty.
and I actually washed my hands afterwards every time.
What, every time?
I can't believe how many times I've gone into a men's restroom and someone comes in and leaves and they did not even consider washing their hands whatsoever.
Yeah.
I would say it's
50%.
70%.
There's studies. It's 50% of you don't wash your hands.
Okay. Now I've experienced more people washing their hands since COVID, but it's still not as high as
we're not
one
at 100.
would assume. But yeah, sneezing, handshaking, all of that is pretty disgusting.
Ugh, so disgusting. Yeah.
I still
no.
shake hands sometimes, but it's necessary evil. Where were we? James King. All hail the king. Much better this week. It's clearly inspired by the movie Arrival, which Jocelyn disagrees with you, James. So send your emails to Jocelyn.
I'll fight you, James. No.
But if you're going to steal ideas, steal from the best. A lot of wrap up next week, though, so maybe an old school to be continued. I just said we're not going to get one, James. Now you've contradicted me, and I feel like you could be right. I hope not.
It's not unlike Arrival. He's right about that. Mm-hmm. But Steal from the Best, Arrival as a movie, not great.
Okay.
Not great. Hot take. Will Flora says, I liked this one as much as last week's. How good is Tig Notaro as Reno? Why is she not in all the episodes? Exactly. The whole language sequence was pretty cool, and Dr. Snack-a-Lot's face with the president told him to stay was hilarious. His face, when she was like, I need you to stay, the relief that washed over him was pretty phenomenal acting right there. Book is finally back to his senses, but too late. Michael and Saru have a great moment too. Why did they wait until the last few episodes to make it so good? 9 flashy lights.
Chris Roel says, as with most of Discovery this season, it was a palatable but nothing to write home about. I want action, drama, and suspense, and instead we get all interpersonal dialogue, screaming matches, and romantic uncertainties. At this point of my disappointment this season, I am thankful there's only 1 episode left. 6 pieces of black licorice out of 10. Oh, what happened to the other 4, Chris?
God, what'd you do with the black licorice, Chris?
Don't eat it.
You didn't eat it, did you?
You give yourself a heart
Put that in your
arrhythmia.
mouth.
We're saving lives,
And
Jocelyn.
finally, yeah, I guess so. Finally, J. Remy Reed says, certainly better than previous weeks, but it's just proving what I have felt this season. They had a great idea for a big First Contact 2-parter, then had to somehow stretch that into 13 episodes. Remember my synopsi? I don't know how to make that plural. You did it, though. It's just hard to read. For the last 3 episodes, I really do hate how close my projections are coming. Episode 11, Rosetta. Discovery lands on the 10C planet, and in the final few seconds, something makes contact. What is it? Who are they? What are their motives? Tune in next week. Episode 12, Species 10C. Before we can find out what the motives are for 10C, Book and Tarka crash the party, and things have to be put on hold to deal with them. I love the steps they took to make contact with 10C, but in the back of my mind, all I kept thinking was how everything was playing out exactly how I thought it would, and that's disappointing because I'm dumb.
Oh, man.
Dumb people of the world unite.
We need Jeremy
We're
on
here.
the bridge of discovery. We've just solved our problem.
Honestly, yeah. One of us needs to go there. So, yeah. Yeah.
He's in charge of fixing Zora, but he doesn't know how. And like 1 week Zora's working, and then he reboots her, and then she's not working, and he doesn't know why. Like, it's perfect. It writes itself. It's all of us.
It's very consistent with Jeremy's relationship with technology baseline.
On real life
like
events. It's pretty consistent
like
with all of our experiences with technology based on real life events. Well, Jocelyn,
Honestly, yeah.
all of that being said, it's the moment of truth. We got to rate this week's episode of Discovery. What do you give? Species 10C. Not the species, but the episode entitled Species 10C. It's very confusing.
Oh, man. So I really did like this episode, and I wanted to give it a 10, so I could give it like
a 10.
10
C.
C's.
See what you did there.
But it's 10C is a 9 for me. That's what I'll say.
Well, at least you rhymed.
Thank you.
I am going to do exactly what I did last week, and I can hear Jeremy yelling like Saru and Michael combined. I'm going to give it a 7.5
Nice.
because I thought it was right on par with last week. It was better in some ways, but for some reason I really liked last week's episode, so I can't really score it much higher, but I can't score it lower, so I'm stuck. 7.5. The fans at home, I am thankful for their score because it came out to exactly a 7, so a lot less math involved, which brings the combined average score of this week's episode to a 7.83. Yay, math.
Isn't math fun?
Heck yeah. Jocelyn, what happens next time in the finale of Star Trek Discovery?
Well, in the finale of Star Trek Discovery, it's actually kind of sad, Jordan. It turns out that Saru, in fact, did have COVID-19. He got it from Tarina, and he was standing so close to Burnham when he screamed that the particles went straight into her mouth and nose, and Burnham gets COVID and is put on a ventilator, and the entire episode is just that.
The writers don't know what to do without Burnham, so it's just a close-up of Michael Burnham.
Yeah. It's just a close-up of her face for an hour.
Gosh. So, is she crying?
Yeah, it's gonna... at times.
Okay.
I hope so.
It's just her trying to find out who the actual chief medical officer is?
No, we will not.
I need Colbert.
No one else.
He doesn't work here.
No one else is.
He's a therapist now. What? I need a therapist. Sorry, Colbert's the doctor. You can't see him. What? Who's Dr. Pollard? Who? Like, oh, God.
Who? There's another doctor?
Oh, man. All right. Well, next time on, Zora takes the crew. This is after things get resolved, so I'm assuming this takes place at the very end of next week's episode. Zora takes the crew of Discovery as a treat to a laser light show with fireworks. Unfortunately for the crew, they can't unwind because they spend the entire show trying to find out a way to communicate with the lights and the fireworks. And
Oh my God.
Yep. Well, Jocelyn,
Nice.
any questions going into the finale? Anything you want to see? Anything you're worried about? Lay it on me.
So many questions. So many questions. How will Tarka die?
When will
'Cause
Tarka
that definitely
die?
is going to happen. Will Species 10C become part of the Federation, or are they going to be an enemy for season 5? I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to figure it out. I think the 10C will provide us with something that we need that will fix a problem we already have. And
They're
then
too big to fail.
Season 5, they're too big to fail. It's true. It's true. So they've harnessed the power of the Stargate. I'm not sure you can get any bigger than that.
You can't.
Yeah. So yeah, lots of questions.
I want
Are we going to be able to? Are we going to see Tarina and Saru kiss? I know that's like third base for both of them, but how's that going to work? Is I guess my question.
I don't know.
You know,
But I'm sure all your questions will be answered next week on the finale, which we don't know the title of. I'm just picturing like the water gate opening up and they pull like a Savage curtain from the original series where like, we need a U.S. president, and Richard Nixon walks out and then he quotes himself almost like, only Nixon can go to China. And like, I don't know, it just ties in Star Trek 6. with
wow.
Spock's quote.
Again,
It
we
ties in
are
Stargate.
so young.
I know. We are very young.
I don't even understand that reference.
I don't even know what Watergate was. Oh, man.
Yeah. Did you see the new episode of Euphoria?
Do you want to talk about the Teapot Dome scandal? That President Harding. Man, some shady stuff. All right, well, that's enough history, Jocelyn. This week's episode is history, so join us next week, and thank you all for listening to the Star Trek Wars podcast. We'll be back to review the final episode of Season 4, the 13th episode, lucky number 13. Until then, computer and program.
Thanks for listening to Star Trek Wars.